Assalamu alaikum, everyone. We recently did a reading exercise, and so I'm just going to go over it to clarify some things that I felt are worth clarifying. So let's start off by reading together. كانت إحدى الغابات الكبيرة كثيرة الأشجار والأعشاب. كانت إحدى is the subject. So the subject was كانت, the verb to be, الغابات الكبيرة, which is the big forests. Okay? إحدى means one of. So one of the big forests was. And because these two are following the subject, they are possessive words. They are explaining the subject. Okay, so one of the big forests, therefore they get the kasra. Possessive words get the kasra, and possessive words also explain the noun that they follow. And in this case, it's ihda. Okay, and we'll see more examples as we go. So one of the big forests was kathirata. Kathirata. If we remove these two words, and we say one of the big forests was kathirata, this doesn't work because the object, if it doesn't have the definite article al, should end with a tanween al-fatha. But if idafa comes after it, we make it a fatha. Idafa is the possession in Arabic. And we add possessive words after it, or mudafin ilayhi, we get kasras on these words as well. Okay? So one of the big forests was plenty, or had plenty, of trees and greenery. And so the trees and the greenery are idafa to kathirata. Plenty of what? They answer the question, plenty of what? Well, plenty of trees and greenery. Here, these guys are answering, well, one of what? Well, one of the big forests that are out there in the world, right? And so they're called idafa, or they're called possession, or possessive words in English. وَفِي وَسَطِ الْغَابَةِ نَبْعُ مَاءٍ غَزِيرٌ. Fi is a preposition, and so whatever follows it should have a kasra. And then al-ghabati, so in the middle of the forest. And therefore forest is idafa to the middle. It's answering the question, in the middle of what? Well, in the middle of the forest. Or if you want to see it with an apostrophe S, in the forest's middle. In the forest's middle. So with the apostrophe S or with the of, the possessive of, we are doing idafa. And so al-ghabati is answering the question, in the middle of what? Well, in the middle of al-ghaba, or the forest. In the middle of the forest, a spring of water. So nab'u is a spring, ma'in of water, ghazirun is plenty. Okay? So nab'u ma'in ghazirun. Ghazirun goes back, or refers back to nab'u, the spring. So it's a plenty spring, like a plentiful spring, and therefore it gets a tanween al-dhamma, because nab'u does not have a definite article al. And nab'u doesn't have a tanween al-dhamma, because just like here, we said tanween al-fatha on kathirata as the object, it will have the tanween al-fatha if the idafa is not there. But here we have also idafa for nab'u, which is a spring of what? Well, a spring of water. And so because it doesn't have the definite article al, it has tanween al-kasra. Okay? Here, for example, they have al, and therefore they only get kasra, one kasra. So we see nab'u ma'in ghazirun. Okay? And nab'u, it gets the dhamma because it's the subject. So I almost forgot to tell you that. But I hope it was implied. Next is تشرب الحيوانات من مائه الصافي وتغتسل به. تشرب الحيوانات, well, تشرب is the present tense of the verb shariba, which is to drink. Al-haywanat, which is the subject. So the animals drank, min, which is a preposition from, meaning from ma'ihi. Ma'ihi. So if we didn't have this ha, it would be from ma'in. So from some water. They drank from some water. Or sorry, from some water. Right? But here we're saying ma'ihi. And the ha that you add at the end of a noun is an implication of a possessive pronoun, meaning that this water belongs to something. Who is it referring back to? Well, it's referring back to the spring of water. So تشرب الحيوانات من مائه الصافي. And the animals drank or drink from its clear water. Its clear water. It denoting the spring. Right? Safi means clear. And that's why we have a ha here, and we get a kasra both on the original ending of the word ma and on the ha that implies the possessive pronoun. And then we say وَتَغْتَسِلُ بِهِ. If we had said وَتَغْسِلُ بِهِ, it would mean, and it washes with it. But washes what? We don't know. وتغتسل به makes it more of a reflexive verb where the verb returns back to the self, meaning that they bathe themselves with it. Okay? به meaning with it. به, the ha has the same function as here, meaning it's a possessive pronoun. Who's with what? Well, with it, right? With the spring or with the water. And ba is kind of like a preposition with, meaning with. Next is وكانت تعيش في الغابة. We're still missing the subject because was living or were living in the forest. حيوانات كثيرة. Okay, so many animals were living in the forest. And في الغابة gets the كسرة because it follows the preposition في. وكانت تعيش في الغابة حيوانات كثيرة. And these two get the tanween al-dhamma because they don't have the definite article al. And كثيرة is the adjective of حيوانات, which is the animals, right? So it's many animals. And they both get the same tanween al-dhamma because كثيرة refers back to the primary noun being حيوانات. كالأسود والنمور والغزلان والفيلة والزرافات والقردة والأفاعي. ك here, I'm going to put it in blue because it's not an ending. Okay, ka here is like the preposition. Okay, and it means like or as. And because it acts as a preposition, everything after it gets a kasra on the end of it. Especially because they are all in a chain of wa, right? You see, كالأسود والنمور والغزلان والفيلة والزرافات والقردة والأفاعي. So ka is a preposition, just like we saw here, ba is a preposition, and we can add it in front of other nouns as well. So keep that in mind for later lessons. كالأسود والنمور. So it's a chain of nouns that belong or follow the preposition that is preceding them, or preceding the first noun in the chain. Okay? We don't add a kasra here because it already has a ya, which denotes the same vowel sound, right? والأفاعي. We're not going to say والأفاعي. Doesn't make sense. وكان الأسد الكبير. So, and the big lion, so al-kabiru being big, is the adjective of the subject of the sentence being al-asadu, the lion. وكان الأسد الكبير. Well, what was he? Now we need an object, right? An object to the verb to be. Well, وكان الأسد الكبير ملكا. Okay, so let's remove whatever comes after Malika. Malika, if you want it to be, if we want it to be the big lion was a king, we would add an alif, and it would be this. وكان الأسد الكبير ملكا. And the big lion was a king. If we want him to be the king, al-malika, right? But in the case of giving idafa or a possessive word to malika, to answer, he was the king of what? We don't know. He was the king of what? And so it becomes malika, similar to kathirata al-ashjari wal-ashabi. So malika, king of, well, هذه الغابة. This, هذه meaning this, and forest being al-ghabati, and it gets the kasra on the end of it because it's a possessive word. He was the forest's king. That's with an apostrophe s, right? The forest's king, or the king of the forest, or of this forest, right? This denoted by هذه. Okay, cool. So I hope this made a lot of sense and gave you an idea of why things end with the haraka that they end with. And remember that this is the basic sentence structure. So these are pretty simple sentences. They're beginner, intermediate type. And if you can get through these, you'll be able to read better. Because most Arabic is not written with harakat. Therefore, you need to build some intuition to knowing what the role of the word is in the sentence in order to comprehend the sentence, in order to understand it. Okay. I hope that made sense. And all the best. See you next lesson.